The massive human warship U.S. Defiance tore through the fabric of space, emerging from a swirling blue vortex that quickly collapsed behind it. On the bridge, alarm systems blared as the crew recovered from the violent transition. Captain John Miller gripped his command chair, blinking hard to clear his vision. "Status report," he ordered, his voice steady despite the unexpected turbulence. Lisa Green, his executive officer, was already reviewing the damage readouts on her console. "Drive systems at 60%, Captain. Navigation is trying to determine our position, but nothing matches our star charts." The main view screen showed an unfamiliar star field against the blackness of space. In the distance, a ringed planet glowed with an odd purple hue. This was definitely not the Sol system test range, where they had initiated the experimental wormhole drive. "Sir," called out Patricia White from the communications station, her fingers dancing across her console. "I'm picking up multiple signals. Definitely artificial, and definitely not human." The bridge fell silent. The Defiance was humanity's newest and most advanced warship, built after decades of silent expansion through their home system. Despite numerous probes sent to nearby stars, humans had never encountered alien life. Until now. "Can you translate any of it?" Miller asked, standing up to study the view screen more carefully. "Working on it, sir. Our AI is processing language patterns, but it's unlike anything in our database." Kevin Carter, the ship's military liaison from Earth Command, moved to the captain's side. "We should power up weapons and shields, sir. We don't know how they'll react to us." Miller nodded. "Defensive posture only. No aggressive actions." The view screen suddenly flickered, showing a new view. Multiple ships were approaching, sleek vessels with curved hulls that seemed to shimmer with an iridescent glow. "Those are warships," Carter said quietly. "Look at the weapons ports." 7 vessels approaching," reported the tactical officer. "Their technology is different from ours, but they appear to be charging weapon systems." Miller straightened his uniform. "Patricia, broadcast on all frequencies. Standard greeting package." "Yes, sir," White replied, sending the carefully prepared first contact message that human scientists had created years ago, containing basic mathematical sequences, simple language primers, and peaceful intentions. Science Officer Susan Brown rushed onto the bridge, her face flushed with excitement. "Captain, I've analyzed that planet. There's a massive energy signature on the surface. Some kind of ceremony or gathering is happening. And I think," she paused, checking her data pad, "I think we just appeared right above what might be a sacred site." "Perfect timing," muttered Miller. "Ms. Green, what's our drive status?" "The wormhole generator is offline, sir. Chief Engineer Taylor reports minimum 2 weeks for repairs." The alien vessels were now forming a perimeter around the Defiance, clearly communicating with each other. "Captain," White called urgently, "we're receiving a directed transmission. The computer has processed enough of their language for basic translation." "On screen," Miller ordered. The view screen changed to show a tall, slender figure with gray-blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow from within. The alien wore ornate armor with symbols of rank clearly visible. When it spoke, the ship's computer translated with a slight delay. "Unknown vessel, you have violated Sktharin's sacred space on the day of ascension. This transgression will not be tolerated. Power down your systems and prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in your immediate destruction." Miller took a deep breath. "Patricia, please translate. We are the U.S. Defiance from Earth. Our arrival was accidental due to a drive malfunction. We come in peace and apologize for any disruption." The alien commander's eyes narrowed. "Earth, this designation is unknown to the Dominion records. Explain your presence in prohibited space immediately." As Miller began to respond, cultural specialist Mary Allen rushed to White's station, her expression alarmed. "Wait, don't use that phrasing. In their dialect, 'we come in peace' translates roughly to 'we come to impose peace.' It sounds like a threat." But the message had already been sent. On screen, The alien commander's posture stiffened dramatically, and nearby officers rushed to their stations. "The alien vessels are raising shields and powering weapons," Carter reported tensely. Miller looked around at his crew, then back at the screen where the alien commander waited, clearly expecting submission. "Well," he said quietly, "this is not how any of us expected first contact to go." The bridge of the U.S. Defiance was silent as the alien commander's face loomed on the view screen. High Commander Skrill's skin had darkened to a deep blue, which cultural specialist Mary Allen quietly informed Captain Miller was a sign of extreme anger. "You dare to threaten peace imposition during our most sacred ceremony." Skrill's voice boomed through the translator. "The Dominion has ruled these sectors for 10,000 cycles. Your primitive vessel will surrender now or face complete destruction." Captain Miller kept his voice calm. "There has been a translation error. We have no hostile intentions. Our ship is damaged, and we appeared here by accident." Mary Allen moved closer to the captain and whispered, "Sir, let me help with the phrasing. Their language is extremely nuanced." Miller nodded, and Allen stepped forward. "With respect, High Commander, we are travelers from beyond your known space. Our translation system is imperfect. We ask forgiveness for our accidental intrusion." Skrill's eyes narrowed. "A convenient claim. No species simply appears in the heart of Dominion's sacred space." He turned to speak to an officer off-screen, then faced the humans again. "The full Dominion Council has been called. Your fate will be decided within one rotation." The screen went dark. "Well, that bought us some time," Miller said, turning to his crew. "Now let's figure out where exactly we are and how to get home." In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Eric Taylor was assessing the damage to the experimental wormhole drive. His face was streaked with coolant fluid as he crawled out from an access tube. "It's bad, Captain," he reported over the comm. "The primary containment system is fractured, and 3 power regulators are completely fried. We can't jump again until these are replaced." "How long?" Miller asked. "Best case, 2 weeks, and that's assuming we can adapt some of our spare parts to work with the drive." Miller sighed. "Keep me updated. Bridge out." He turned to Science Officer Susan Brown. "What have you learned about our hosts?" Brown pulled up data on her screen. "The Scytheran Dominion appears to control at least 50 star systems in this sector. Their ships are advanced, but from what our sensors can tell, not necessarily more advanced than ours. They seem to rely heavily on energy weapons while lacking our level of shield technology." "They're bluffing," said military liaison Carter, studying the tactical readouts. "Their first demand was immediate surrender. If they could destroy us easily, they would have tried already." Communications Officer White suddenly straightened at her console. "Sir, I'm picking up non-Dominion transmissions. They're being broadcast on frequencies the Scytheran aren't monitoring." She adjusted some settings. "It's some kind of resistance network." "Can you clean it up?" Miller asked. White nodded, working her controls. A moment later, a hushed voice came through the speakers. The translation was rough but understandable. "Unknown vessel, if you oppose the Dominion, respond on this frequency. Help may be possible." Miller looked at his officers. "It seems we've landed in the middle of more than just a ceremony." On the Dominion command ship, High Commander Skrill addressed the emergency council meeting. "This vessel is unlike anything in our records. Its size and energy readings suggest weapons capabilities that could threaten our control." An elder council member spoke up. "Could they be from the mythical lost colonies? The ones said to have fled beyond the Great Void?" "Irrelevant." Skrill dismissed the question. "What matters is what the slave races will think. Already our monitoring stations report increased communications among the Velaran resistance. This human ship must be dealt with quickly before others question our supremacy." "Then destroy them now," another counselor suggested. "Not yet," said Skrill. "First, we must learn their weaknesses. I have declared them a Class 5 threat species. The defense fleet is mobilizing." Back on the Defiance, Miller called a meeting of his senior staff. Mary Allen arrived last, her expression grim. "Captain, I've been analyzing their communications. The Dominion isn't just an empire. It's a system built on subjugation. There are at least 12 species under their control, and from what I can tell, they're not treated well." Lisa Green frowned. "So we've accidentally appeared in the middle of a powder keg." "Yes," Allen confirmed, "and our arrival may have just lit the match." Miller looked around at his crew. "We need options. Our priority is getting home, but I won't have this ship become a catalyst for more oppression. If we run, the Dominion might take out their anger on these other species." "Sir," said White, "the Resistance is requesting direct communication." Miller nodded slowly. "Put them through. Let's hear what they have to say." The warning from the Scytheran fleet came just minutes after the Defiance had opened communications with the Resistance. 3 Dominion warships broke formation and advanced toward the human vessel. "They're powering weapons," reported Weapons Officer Andrew Clark, "reading energy buildup in their forward arrays." Captain Miller straightened in his chair. "Shields to full. Hold fire unless I give the order." The bridge crew watched tensely as the alien ships approached. Lisa Green monitored their tactical movements. "They're spreading out, trying to surround our port side. They might be testing our blind spots." "Sir," Clark said, his voice tight, "their weapons are now at full charge." Miller nodded. "Let them fire first. We need to understand what we're dealing with." A moment later, brilliant purple beams lanced from the lead Scytheran vessel, striking the Defiance's shields. The human ship shuddered slightly, but remained stable. "Shield status?" Miller asked calmly. "Shields holding at 92%. Clark responded, sounding surprised. "Their weapons are powerful, but nothing our systems can't handle." A second volley hit the ship from multiple angles as the other ships joined the attack. Again, the shields absorbed most of the impact. "Shields at 87%, Clark reported. "Captain, permission to return fire." "A warning shot only." Miller considered this. "Granted, target the leader's weapons array. Minimal power." Clark touched his console, and a blue pulse shot from the Defiance. It struck the Scytheran ship with precision, instantly disabling its main weapon without causing catastrophic damage. The alien vessels immediately halted their attack. On the view screen, the Dominion ships seemed to hesitate, as if shocked. "They're pulling back," Green noted. "Seems they didn't expect us to be so durable." Communications Officer White's console lit up. "Sir, we're being hailed by High Commander Squirrel." The alien commander's face appeared on screen, his expression a mixture of anger and something new: uncertainty. "Your resistance is unexpected," Squirrel said. "That was merely a warning strike to demonstrate our power." Miller kept his face neutral. "And we responded with equal restraint, Commander. We have no desire for conflict, but we will defend ourselves." In the science lab, Susan Brown was analyzing data from the brief exchange. She called the bridge with urgency in her voice. "Captain, I've compared their weapons signatures to their ship design. Something doesn't add up. Their technology isn't as advanced as they want us to believe. It's impressive, but it's at least a generation behind their apparent hull design." "Explain," Miller requested. "They're bluffing," Brown continued. "They built their empire on the appearance of technological superiority, not the reality. Their ships look more advanced than they actually are." This information changed everything. Miller thanked Brown and turned to his executive officer. "Green, what if the Dominion's control over this sector is based more on intimidation than actual power?" Before Green could answer, White interrupted. "Captain, we're receiving a tight beam transmission. It's encrypted, but not in Scytheran code. Put it through to my ready room," Miller ordered. In private, Miller watched as a hooded figure appeared on his screen. The alien had pale skin with intricate markings and large, expressive eyes. "I am Thrix of the Velaran Resistance," the figure said quietly. "Your ship's arrival has created opportunity. For generations, the Scytheran have controlled our worlds through fear and deception. They are not as powerful as they claim. So we're beginning to realize, Miller replied. We need to meet, Thrix continued. I can provide information about safe passage through Dominion territory. In return, perhaps you can help us show others that the Overlords can be resisted. After the transmission ended, Miller called his senior staff together. It seems we have potential allies, but we need to be careful. Our primary mission is to get home, not get involved in a rebellion. Carter disagreed. Sir, the Dominion has already labeled us enemies. They won't let us leave peacefully now. Later that day, Science Officer Brown made another discovery. Captain, I've intercepted Dominion communications to their outer worlds. They're spreading propaganda about us. They're calling humans planet destroyers and warning that we'll annihilate any world that doesn't support the Dominion. Miller frowned. They're using our arrival to tighten their grip on rebellious worlds. It gets worse, Brown added. They've ordered their entire fleet to create a blockade around this sector. They're trapping us here. Miller stared at the star map showing the growing number of Dominion ships moving into position around them. Well, he said grimly, if they want to play hardball, they're about to learn that humanity wrote the rulebook. The meeting with the Velaran resistance leader happened under complete secrecy. Captain Miller had agreed to allow one representative aboard the Defiance, despite Security Chief Paul Davis's concerns. I don't like this, Davis said as they waited in the shuttle bay. We know nothing about these aliens or their real intentions. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith, Miller replied. Besides, we need allies if we're going to navigate out of this mess. A small craft approached the Defiance, barely visible against the starfield. It used no running lights and emitted almost no energy signature. The bay doors opened, and the craft slipped inside. When the airlock cycled open, Thrix stepped out. In person, the Velaran was tall and slender with four-fingered hands and those large, expressive eyes Miller had seen in the transmission. Intricate patterns covered the alien's pale skin like natural tattoos. Thank you for trusting me, Thrix said with a slight bow. I brought something valuable. The alien held up a small crystal device, detailed maps of Dominion patrol routes, and sensor blind spots. With these, you might escape the blockade they are creating. In the navigation center, Karen Wright studied the data Thrix provided. She called over Paul Davis as she plotted potential escape vectors. There's a narrow corridor here, she said, pointing to a section of the star map. If we time it right, we could slip past their patrols during their shift change. Their discipline isn't as perfect as they pretend. Davis nodded. It could work. But the timing would have to be precise. While they discussed escape plans, Thrix met with Captain Miller in his ready room. The alien story confirmed their worst suspicions about the Dominion. 12 species live under Scytheran rule, Thrix explained. For generations, they've kept us divided and fearful. They demonstrate their superior technology by destroying any world that rebels. But now we know the truth. Which is? Miller asked. They are not gods. They bleed. Their technology is not magic. Thrix leaned forward. Your ship's arrival proves what some of us have suspected. There are powers in the universe that can match or exceed the Dominion. You showed this when your shields barely noticed their attack. Miller frowned. We're just one ship far from home. We can't fight an entire empire. You don't need to, Thrix replied. Just long enough for word to spread. Already, stories of your resistance travel between worlds. The Dominion censors try to control the narrative, but they cannot stop all communications. In engineering, Eric Taylor continued working on the wormhole drive repairs. He wiped sweat from his forehead as he recalibrated a power coupling. Chief, called one of his engineers. I think I found a way to bypass the damaged regulators. It won't be pretty, but it might work. Taylor studied the proposed solution. This could reduce our repair time to 10 days. Good work. On the bridge, Communications Officer White monitored Dominion transmissions with growing concern. They're mobilizing everything they have, she reported to Miller when he returned. I've counted 47 warships moving to surround this sector. They're creating a multi-layered defense grid to keep us contained. Miller studied the tactical display. They're putting a lot of resources into making sure we don't leave. There's something else, White added. I've intercepted transmissions from other resistance cells. The Dominion is planning to make an example of populations suspected of sympathizing with us. They're sending troops to 3 worlds. Miller's expression darkened. So innocent people will suffer because we showed up. We didn't ask for this, Lisa Green reminded him. But we're here now. Miller nodded slowly. Navigator Wright, how soon can we implement your escape plan? Wright straightened. With the data Thrix provided, we could make an attempt in 48 hours. And if we wanted to reach those 3 worlds before the Dominion troops arrive. Wright hesitated, then checked her calculations. It's possible, sir. But it would mean abandoning our most direct escape route. Miller looked around at his crew. I need options. If we run, people die. If we stay and fight, we might never get home. Security Chief Davis spoke up. Sir, what if we did both? A targeted demonstration that helps the resistance while clearing our path home. The captain raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. The medical bay of the Defiance was crowded with injured aliens. Chief Medical Officer Daniel Scott moved between patients, using equipment designed for humans to treat species he had never seen before. How are they doing? Captain Miller asked as he entered. Scott looked up from treating a burn on a young Velaran's arm. Stable, but I'm concerned about these injuries. These aren't battle wounds, Captain. They're systematic, designed to cause pain without killing. Miller looked around at the dozen refugees Thrix had brought aboard during a second secret visit. They had escaped a Dominion compliance center, where suspected resistance members were taken. They were making examples of us, explained a female Velaran with a damaged eye, to show what happens to those who question Dominion rule. Scott showed Miller his medical scans. I found evidence of biological agents in their systems. Slow-acting toxins designed to cause long-term suffering. It's barbaric. In another part of the ship, Specialist Donna Jones sat at her console, guiding the ship's advanced AI system called ARIA. While most of the crew focused on immediate problems, Jones had been running a deep infiltration of Dominion networks. I'm in, she said quietly as Captain Miller entered the room. ARIA managed to bypass their security protocols. We have access to internal communications. Miller looked at the streams of alien data flowing across her screens. What have you found? Jones' expression was grim. Genocide plans, sir. The Dominion leadership has decided the Velaran species is too rebellious. They're developing a virus that targets Velaran genetic markers. They plan to release it if there are any more major uprisings. Miller's jaw tightened, and our arrival provided the perfect excuse. There's more, Jones continued. They have similar contingency plans for 3 other species. The Dominion maintains control through fear. Any species that shows too much independence faces extinction. Miller had called a ship-wide vote on intervention. Now, in the crowded mess hall, he faced his divided crew. Some argued passionately for helping the oppressed species. Others insisted their duty was to return to Earth. I understand both perspectives, Miller said after everyone had spoken. Our primary mission is to get home. But I cannot in good conscience leave knowing innocent beings will die because of our arrival. Lisa Green stood up. The vote is 74% in favor of limited intervention before we attempt to return home. The ship shuddered suddenly, alarms blaring throughout the corridors. All hands to battle stations, Miller ordered, rushing to the bridge. Andrew Clark was already at his weapons console when Miller arrived. Multiple Dominion ships attacking, sir. This isn't a warning strike. They're hitting us with everything they have. The Defiance rocked as energy beams struck their shields from several directions. Shield status, Miller asked. Down to 60%, Clark reported. They've analyzed our defenses and adjusted their weapons. They're coordinating their attacks more effectively. Patricia White turned from her communication station. Captain, I've intercepted a priority message from High Commander Squirrel. They're using our presence to justify a full military response against all resistance-affiliated worlds. They're calling it the Human Containment Protocol, but it's really a purge of anyone who might oppose them. Miller made his decision. Navigation. Plot a course to the nearest Dominion military staging area. Weapons. Prepare a full demonstration of our capabilities. Sir, Clark questioned, surprised. If they want to use us as an excuse for genocide, then let's show them exactly what humans are capable of. Miller's voice was calm but determined. We're not running anymore. If the Dominion wants to talk about containment protocols, they should understand what they're trying to contain. As the Defiance turned to face the Dominion fleet, Engineer Taylor called from engineering. Captain, I may have a way to use the damaged wormhole drive tactically. We can't make a stable jump home yet, but we could make short jumps within this sector. They won't be able to predict our movements. Miller nodded. Make it happen. It's time to rewrite the rules of this engagement. The U.S. Defiance disappeared in a flash of blue light, leaving the Dominion ships firing at empty space. When the human vessel reappeared 2 seconds later, it was behind the alien fleet. The short-range wormhole jump had worked. Target their weapon systems only, Captain Miller ordered. Fire. Andrew Clark's fingers moved across his console. The Defiance's main weapons fired with surgical precision, disabling 4 Dominion ships before they could even turn around. In engineering, Eric Taylor monitored the improvised wormhole generator. We can manage 3 more jumps before we need to let the system cool down, he reported over the comm. Make them count, Miller replied. Jump to coordinates Alpha 3. Another flash of blue light, and the Defiance appeared near a large Dominion command station. The station immediately began broadcasting distress signals. Sir, Patricia White said, Dominion communications are in chaos. They'd never seen anything like our jump capability. Miller nodded. Broadcast on all frequencies. Use the translation matrix Mary Allen developed. Miller stood tall as the ship's cameras captured his image for transmission. This is Captain John Miller of the U.S. Defiance. We have observed the Dominion's oppression of multiple species and their plans for genocide. We will not allow this to continue. To all subjugated worlds, the Dominion is not invincible. Their technology is not superior. Their rule is based on deception and fear. The Defiance fired again, disabling the station's weapons but leaving it intact. Jump to coordinates Beta 7, Miller ordered. The ship vanished and reappeared near a Dominion prison planet. Lieutenant Henry Ross stood ready with a team of security personnel. We've located the detention center holding the resistance leaders, Ross reported. Permission to begin the rescue operation. Granted, Miller replied. You have 30 minutes. While Ross and his team used the ship's transporters to rescue key resistance members, the Defiance faced a new wave of Dominion ships. They're adapting to our attack pattern, Lisa Green warned. They're trying to predict where we'll jump next. Miller smiled slightly. Then we won't jump. Hold position. Let's show them what else we can do. Clark activated weapon systems that had remained dormant until now. The Defiance's hull shifted as hidden weapon ports opened. High Commander Squirrel watched from his flagship as the human vessel transformed before his eyes. Impossible, he whispered as his tactical officer reported the sudden spike in energy readings. The Defiance fired a series of precise, powerful shots that cut through the Dominion fleet's formations. Ships lost engines, weapons, and shields, but none were destroyed. We could eliminate them, Carter noted quietly to Miller. Why are we holding back? Because we're not like them, Miller replied. We don't need to destroy to prove our point. Throughout the sector, Dominion subjects watched in awe as their supposedly invincible overlords were systematically disabled by a single ship. Dominion communication networks couldn't stop the spread of information as the Defiance broadcast evidence of planned genocide and historical oppression. Lieutenant Ross returned to the bridge. Mission accomplished, sir. We've rescued 28 resistance leaders from 7 species, and lost their prisoners will not go unnoticed, Miller said. Navigator, set course for the Valoran homeworld. The Defiance jumped one final time, appearing above the most populated Valoran city just as Dominion troops were beginning a crackdown. The human ship's presence halted the operation immediately. Broadcast the evidence we've collected, Miller ordered. Make sure everyone on that planet sees it. Within hours, uprisings began on 12 worlds. The myth of Dominion invincibility shattered as species that had been oppressed for generations finally saw hope. Sir, White reported, we're receiving messages from resistance cells across the sector. They're asking for our help coordinating their efforts. Miller looked around at his crew, seeing determination in their eyes. Tell them help is coming. But first, we need to ensure the Dominion can't carry out their genocide plans. Captain, said Green, what about getting home? Miller nodded. We're still going home, but not before we finish what we started here. News of the Defiance's victory spread like wildfire across the Dominion. Species that had lived under Sktharan rule for generations began to rise up. The carefully maintained image of Dominion invincibility crumbled as videos of the human ship disabling their forces circulated on underground networks. On the Valoran homeworld, crowds gathered in the streets, no longer afraid of Dominion troops. Similar scenes played out on 4 other planets. The revolution had begun. Sir, another Dominion military installation has surrendered, Lisa Green reported, updating the tactical display in the Defiance's war room. That makes 7 in the past 12 hours. Captain Miller nodded, studying the changing map of the sector. And the Dominion fleet? Fractured, Green replied. Some ships remain loyal to High Commander Squirrel. Others have retreated to protect their home systems. A few have even defected to join the resistance. Miller turned to Thrix, who now served as their liaison with the growing rebellion. What's the situation on the ground? Better than we could have hoped, Thrix said. 5 species have declared independence already. The Dominion's control was always thinner than they pretended. Once people saw they could be defeated, everything changed. In the main engineering section, Eric Taylor and Susan Brown worked alongside alien engineers from 3 different species. Together, they were developing a defensive network that would protect formerly subjugated worlds from Dominion retaliation. The key is to adapt our shield technology to work with their power systems, Taylor explained, showing a schematic to a Valoran engineer. It won't be as powerful as the Defiance's shields, but it will stop any standard Dominion attack. Brown added, and by linking the shield generators across multiple locations, we create a distributed network that can't be easily disabled. On the Dominion homeworld, the ruling council was in chaos. Several counselors had already fled. Others demanded immediate action against the rebels. We must use the forbidden weapons, insisted one elderly counselor. Activate the planet killers. Show them the true might of the Dominion. High Commander Squirrel pounded his fist on the table. No, those weapons would destroy worlds we need for resources. We must crush this rebellion conventionally. But the human ship, another counselor began, is just one ship, Squirrel roared. A powerful one, yes, but not invincible. We will adapt. We will overcome. A junior officer entered the chamber, visibly nervous. Commander, I regret to inform you that 3 more colonial governors have declared independence, and there are protests in our capital city. This news silenced the council. Protests on the Dominion homeworld were unheard of. Back on the Defiance, Captain Miller met with representatives from 5 alien species. Each had been enemies under Dominion rule, carefully kept distrustful of each other through propaganda and manufactured conflicts. The Dominion maintained control by keeping us divided, said a representative of the Morican species, a stocky humanoid with ridged skin. If we are to remain free, we must build something better. Miller nodded. Earth has a saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Your best defense against the Dominion is working together. And will Earth help us? Asked another representative. Miller took a deep breath. I can't speak for all of humanity. We're still trying to get home. But I promise we won't leave you defenseless. On the bridge, Patricia White monitored communications when something unexpected appeared. Captain, you need to see this, she called over the comm. When Miller arrived, White showed him intercepted transmissions from deep in Dominion space. A faction is challenging Skrull's leadership. They're calling for negotiation with the rebels and reforms to the Dominion system. The cracks are spreading, Miller observed. Sir, White continued, they're specifically asking to open communications with the humans. They want to talk to you. Later that day, in engineering, Taylor approached Miller with good news. Captain, the wormhole drive is almost repaired. We could attempt a jump back to Earth within the week. Miller looked around at the activity on his ship. Aliens and humans working together, creating new alliances and technologies. Good work, but we still have promises to keep before we go home. 1 month after the U.S. Defiance had accidentally arrived in Dominion space, Captain John Miller stood in the grand hall of what was once the Scytheran ruling palace. Representatives from 14 species filled the room, including former slaves and moderates from the Dominion itself. High Commander Skrull was no longer in power. 3 days earlier, his own officers had removed him after discovering the full extent of his deceptions. The Dominion's population had learned that much of their supposed superiority was based on stolen technology and carefully maintained myths. The Stellar Liberty Accord is now ready for signing, announced the interim council leader, a progressive Scytheran named Veltak. This agreement establishes equal rights for all species and prohibits any form of enslaved labor or forced compliance. Miller watched with satisfaction as representatives stepped forward one by one to sign the historic document. The Defiance's actions had toppled an empire and freed billions of beings across multiple worlds. In orbit above the planet, Eric Taylor made final adjustments to the wormhole drive. All systems are green, Captain, he reported over the comm. We can jump whenever you give the word. Stand by, Miller replied. We'll depart after the ceremony. After the signing, Miller met with the new council in private. We've shared enough of our technology to help you defend yourselves, he said. The SHIELD network covers 12 key worlds, and we've provided medical technology to counter the biological weapons the old regime created. Fricks, now serving as a council member, stepped forward. Your arrival changed everything, Captain Miller. Without the Defiance, we might have remained enslaved for generations more. Sometimes the universe has strange plans for us all, Miller replied. We came here by accident, but I believe there are no true accidents. Before returning to his ship, Miller visited the memorial that had been established for those who had died fighting for freedom during the brief but intense revolution. Nearly 3,000 had lost their lives, including several from the Defiance's crew who had volunteered for ground missions. They will not be forgotten, promised a Morrican elder who stood beside Miller. Their sacrifice has given us a new beginning. When Miller returned to the Defiance, his crew was ready for departure. The ship had been resupplied by grateful species eager to help the humans return home. All stations report ready, Captain, Lisa Green announced as Miller took his seat on the bridge. Our guests are settled in as well, added Patricia White. Miller nodded. The Defiance would be bringing representatives from 5 species back to Earth. These would be humanity's first alien ambassadors, opening diplomatic relations with the newly formed alliance. Navigator, are the jump coordinates locked in? Miller asked. Karen Wright nodded. Yes, sir. If the drive performs as expected, we should emerge just outside Earth's solar system. Very well. Miller took a deep breath. Start the jump sequence. The wormhole drive hummed to life, building power as the ship prepared to leave the sector that had been its unexpected home for the past month. Captain, White said suddenly, I'm receiving a message. It's from Earth. The bridge fell silent as White put the message on speakers. U.S. Defiance, this is Earth Command. We've been searching for you since you disappeared during the wormhole test. Please respond if you receive this message. We're sending coordinates for diplomatic ships to meet you." Miller smiled. "It seems Earth has been busy while we were away. They're sending diplomats to meet us." "Sir," said Green, "should we delay our jump?" Miller shook his head. "No. Let's go home and introduce Earth to its new galactic neighbors." As the final countdown began, Miller looked around at his crew. Each face showed the strain of their unexpected journey, but also pride in what they had accomplished. "Jump in 3, 2, 1, announced Wright. The Defiance disappeared in a flash of blue light, leaving behind a transformed sector of space where the word human would forever be synonymous with freedom and courage. In the void where the ship had been, a small Velaran craft appeared, carrying a final message from the newly formed alliance. It would wait here, at the exact coordinates where the human Dreadnought had first appeared, ready to welcome the next visitors from Earth to the stars.